Aloha, good evening. Welcome to tonight's August Homeowners webinar. I'm Stephanie Nakasone Ramsey, Public Information Officer for the county's Office of Recovery. Um, before we get into tonight's agenda, just wanted to go over some other things. If you've been on one of these webinars before, you kind of know the drill, but I know we may have some new people here. So just kind of wanted to go over some of the WebEx functions on your screen. If you're using a desktop, on the right-hand side, bottom right-hand side, you should see a chat box or an icon to turn on the chat or open up the chat box. The chat is not activated for attendees to chat back and forth, just because we don't want distractions during our presentations. We want people to be present. Um, and paying attention, and also for our panelists as well. That chat has been disabled, but for our presenters and panelists, they are going to be able to post things in there for you to see. So maybe a website or a phone number that they want you to have easily an easy visual on. They can post that in there and send it out so that everyone can see. And below that box or to the side, you're going to see three dots. And if you click on that, the Q&A box option should pop up. The Q&A box is where you can send in questions throughout the webinar. Just for your awareness, we will not be answering questions throughout. We're going to compile all those questions and then ask them at the end of the webinar during our Q&A session. Just make sure when you're sending a question, please make sure that the setting is to all panelists. Again, all panelists. You don't want to be sending it to a particular panelist because, again, we are collecting all those questions. So we have to the people on the back end here who are collecting all those questions have to be able to see it in order to add it to our master doc that we have. So please address them to all panelists. And that leads us to tonight's agenda. As you see up there on your screen, we have a presentation from Wendy Tawamoto of the Department of Management and our Housing RSF on expedited permitting outside the burn area. Shane Ogawa, the Director of the Department of Environmental Management, will have wastewater system updates, particularly about Fleming Road residents, connecting to the sewer line. And then we have Brandy Kajudoy from the Long-Term Recovery Group to go over their new rebuild checklist and navigator toolkit. And then we're going to go into a few quick FAQs on water meters. As everyone's the process of starting to rebuild water meters has been a question that we've gotten a lot of questions about. So we want to go over those very quickly before we head into our Q&A. Next slide, please. This is the panel available for Q&A, including that includes our presenters, who, of course, like I said, Brandy Kajudoy from the Long-Term Recovery Group. We also have, that was a mistake by me. I did these slides. Kono Davis, it's actually Everett Balmorris from MEMA, who is here to answer any questions, checkpoint questions, that sort of thing. And again, like I said, Wendy is here presenting. And then from the County Infrastructure RSF, Shane, like I said, is presenting. So he is here to answer questions as well, wastewater related questions. Deputy Director from the Department of Water Supply, Kimo Landgraf, is here to answer questions on water. Jordan Molina from Director of the Department of Public Works, and John Smith from Highways. We're hoping that they're able to join us a little bit later during Q&A. They have other commitments right now, but we're hoping that they can join on a little bit later for Q&A. And then Mike Renner as well from from Four Leaf from the Recovery Permit Center. We're hoping he can join us as well a little bit later for Q&A. And now on to announcements, and there are a few reminders. One thing I did want to bring up, email went out on Tuesday to those who applied for an expedited building permit. It was an email from the Office of Recovery requesting feedback regarding homeowners insurance. The purpose was to identify issues regarding obtaining or renewing homeowners insurance in the burn area. So we asked, if you have any difficulty, what difficulties have you faced? What problems are coming up, if any? Please provide as much detail as you can. So we ask that you reply to that email. So maybe if you didn't see it in your email or didn't check your email, go ahead, check your email. Again, it was sent out Tuesday. Um, uh, you can also maybe check your spam folder if you might have gone to your spam folder. But we really, really want your responses because it's going to help identify issues that people are facing. And then it'll help us try to understand the county and other agencies, what we can do to support fire survivors. And then we also added the email. That's the email that is coming from. But hey, maybe for some reason we didn't have your email and you did apply for a building permit. You're going through the process of getting insurance and it's been difficult. You can go ahead and email your feedback directly to that email, officeofrecovery@co.maui.hi.us. Next slide, please. One thing I wanted to mention. So as you saw in the panelists slide, unfortunately, the planning department was unable to send a representative to answer questions live today. But they were able to provide us some slides that are able to help people if they were wanting more information on SMA and shoreline. They did have the rules did go the rules did go into effect. The new SMA and shoreline rules did go into effect this past week. So they provided us these slides. So here is the one for SMA rule updates. They kind of briefly describe the 3 types of rule changes for SMA rules. And that QR code there will take you to the Maui County website page that goes over all the updates. So you can scan that QR code, take a screenshot of the QR code and scan it for later on. You can go check out that website. Next slide, please. Oh, and then there's also another one for shoreline rule updates. So for those on the shoreline property owners, this is a separate page also on the county website that you can learn more about the rule changes for shoreline rule updates, including shoreline setback, how it's established. I know that was a big rule change, and the other ones there as well. And so you can scan that QR code. It'll take you to those shoreline rule updates. Next slide, please. And then this one was just announced yesterday, just went live yesterday. Those one-on-one meetings that a lot of people have been waiting for to set up for shoreline property owners to set up one-on-one meetings with our planning department to go over their specific property. That sign up is now available. It's on the MauiRecovers.org website. That QR code will take you directly to the appropriate page. It'll take you to the shoreline permitting page, which will have the viewer, the Maui shoreline setback viewer, to see if you are considered a shoreline property. 2, they would like you to watch a video that's also posted on that page. It's about a short 5-minute video on shoreline hazards. And then below that, you will then have the opportunity to schedule a meeting with them. So again, these was kind of the one that a lot of people were asking about, and it is live. It went live yesterday. So again, you can scan the QR code, preferably after this webinar is done. Don't have to do that right now, but you can, that's the QR code that takes directly there. Again, it is also on, if you go to the MauiRecovers.org homepage, there's a link to it right at the top, near the top of the page. It's one of our newest additions, so we put it towards the top. Next slide, please. A few reminders, just wanted to go over quickly. We did amend the processes. This went into effect a couple weeks ago. The amended process for downloading the debris removal closeout package. It is almost the same as it used to be. You do go on to MauiRecovers.org, you go to the map, and you will find your property. It's just that now it takes you to maps. It takes you to the Maui's automated planning and permitting system, and that's where you're going to download your closeout package. Just to reiterate this, we've said this a few times, you're not going to be mailed your closeout package. You have to download it from the website. So that little arrow that points there, that's when you open up the map, you're going to see that little orange box on the left-hand side, and that's a how-to video. So it makes the process really easy. You can just watch the how-to video, and it'll take you step by step on how you're going to be able to download it. But like I said, it's very similar to the previous process. It's just a couple extra steps that were implemented to make the backend a little bit more efficient. Next slide, please. This was a slide that we produced for a couple meetings ago, a couple community meetings ago. A lot of people were asking how they can get legal support, where can they go? So I just wanted to include this again for this webinar. These are nonprofit organizations that are offering legal services, consultations. You can go and see them and get to know what your options are. So Pono Legal and Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation, both of those agencies have days and hours of availability at the Office of Recovery West Maui at the Gateway, Lahaina Gateway office. So you can go in and see them during those times. At the bottom there, you can see for those dates and times, you can go to myrecovers.org/Office of Recovery for those dates and times. And their info is also on this slide, as you can see. Websites and phone numbers you can contact them at. There's also Legal Aid of Hawaii Maui branch with their phone number and website, and also Emergency Legal Responders, which is a national organization that you can go to their website and you can see if you could utilize their services. Next slide, please. We've been getting a lot of inquiries about the debris that's been left behind after USACE's cleanup of our property. That would mean that it was deemed ineligible. So this is just a reminder. This has been around for a couple months now. All Hands and Hearts are offering an ineligible debris removal service. They are a volunteer-powered organization that is offering this service. So if you have stuff that is left behind after the Army Corps has finished their cleanup, you can request service from them from All Hands and Hearts. That QR code will take you right to their request form. I will note that they are right now not scheduling any additional services because they have had such great interest that they're at capacity right now. But you can go ahead and still fill out the request form, and then they hope to try to get to as many people as they possibly can. Next slide, please. And again, another one of these things that was announced at a community meeting, and we've had follow-up questions about it. Mango trees were being given away to Lahaina residents. It says Lahaina residents there, but actually it's Lahaina and Kula. People who have been affected are in the burn area for both Lahaina and Kula. The Tree Covery and Aina Leali'i are giving away free trees to residents for their property. So you can access their sign-up sheet by scanning that QR code. And I think that's pretty much pretty simple. You can go ahead and try to sign up for a free tree there. Next slide, please. And our last reminder, actually, in case you missed it, last month's homeowners webinar, we had a lot of great engagement, a lot of really good presentations that people had a lot of interest in. So in case you missed it or want to go back and watch it, but don't know how to access it, you can access it through this QR code. It takes you to the page on Maui Recovers that has the video recording of the webinar and slides, a slide deck that you can look through. And then also, as you see the bottom of the screen there, answers to questions that were not answered during the webinar. So, we always have a lot of questions that we can't get to, just we have a certain amount of time. So these are questions, we were able to get some answers to those questions after the webinar and get it posted on this page. So that's there for you as well. And one thing I did want to note with that topics covered, the Koko'o Maui pre-development grant, we did get a question about that for this webinar, and we discovered that just recently, just this past week, they had to close their applications for that $15,000 pre-development grants that they were awarding because there was such great interest. They basically reached their limit. So that right now is closed, but I did talk to people at Koko'o Maui. They did say that if you have any questions or want to inquire further about it, even though it is closed, they are welcoming you to call them, come to the center, talk to them about it. They also may have other, they can also provide you with information for other avenues of financial assistance. So next slide, please. And now we get into our presentations. We have Wendy Tamoto, Housing RSF co-lead, to talk about expedited permitting outside the burn area.
Thanks, Stephanie. Can you hear me? Hello, Stephanie?
Sorry, yes, I gave you a thumbs up. Yes.
Oh, I can't see the thumbs up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Wendy Tamoto with the Department of Management, and also, as Stephanie said, the 2023 Fires Housing RSF co-lead. I'll be going over today the expedited permitting outside of the burn area. So as of August 7th, 2024, the county has implemented a procedure for a homeowner affected by the 2023 fires to request for an expedited permitting for a property outside the burn area that they will occupy as their primary residence. I'll be going over the criteria we are using to determine who is qualified, which is on a form, how to apply using the form, and the approval process we are using, and the timing of all of that. Next slide. So the criteria we are using for the property in the burn area. Item A, the landowner certifying the form must be on the deed for the property in the burn area on August 8th, 2023. A copy of the deed must be provided with the application or the form. If you are one of those homeowners that don't have a copy of the deed because he was lost in the fire, just reach out to our office. Don't worry about it. Item B, the property must be registered as owner-occupied homeowner as of the August fire by the Real Property Tax Division. So on your tax bill, it would say owner-occupied / homeowner. If it doesn't, you may ask your questions to us at the email I'm going to provide. Item C, the dwelling structure was determined totally destroyed by the county. We will verify that we have the viewer. So that's just something we just want to make sure is you are aware of. Item 2, property outside the burn area. So item A, the landowner certifying the form must be on the deed for the property outside the burn area as of the date that you're signing the form. And you must also provide a copy of the deed. And similar to in the burn area, if you lost the deed through the fire, just reach out to the office. The landowner must certify on the form that they will register the property outside of the burn area with the county real property tax division as the owner-occupied or primary residence when they complete the construction of their project. And that's basically a self-certification we're asking for. Item C, the landowner certifying the form must have a valid building permit number for the dwelling they're going to construct on the property outside the burn area as of the date they signed the form. What that means is you would have had to have submitted for a building permit application and was issued a building permit number before you start filling out the form. And I'll go over these things later on in the presentation. Next slide. Okay, how to apply. We have prepared a form for you, which is shown on the right side, the sample, which is called the Homeowner Request for Expedited Permitting Outside the Burn Area for Homeowner Occupancy. And homeowner occupancy relates to the that you're going to relocate from within the burn area to outside your burn area as your primary residence. We have 2 locations where you can obtain this form. One is on the MauiRecovers.org website. It's under Get Updated. There's a permanent housing link, and under that, there's a on that webpage, there's the expedited permitting outside the burn area. The link that is provided, shown, takes you directly to the permanent housing webpage where you will see the expedited permitting outside the burn area. Or you can use your phone and scan the QR code and it'll take you directly to the form. Next slide. To apply, once you have the form in front of you, you're going to see that at the top of the form is going to be exactly the criteria that I read in the previous slide. Below that, you will have 3 sections that need to be filled out. Section A and B is just the address of the property in the burn area and the tax map key, and similar, section B is the address of the property outside the burn area, the TMK, and if you notice there's one extra line, that is the building permit number for the property outside the burn area that you applied for a building permit. And then section C, the final section, we just want you to read that so that you understand that once you finish construction, you're going to need to notify the real property tax office that the property outside is now your owner occupied property and your primary residence. Once all that is done and signed, you will email the completed form and the copy of the deeds to the Office of Recovery at co.maui.hi.us. Next slide. So the approval process. That email is sent to the Office of Recovery, and someone like myself or someone in the Office of Recovery will review the form for completeness and that criteria is met, and review the deeds and so forth. And once those things are met, we will either approve and indicate so on the form or not approve. And if we don't approve, we will indicate why. We will also email you the form, the completed form that indicates approval or not approved. And the estimated time for the Office of Recovery to complete our review is approximately 7 calendar days. And I'm sorry, I don't have that on there. But I do have noted that once we do approve the form, an email will be sent to the reviewing department or agencies to notify those agencies that your permit outside the burn area is to be expedited and has been approved by the Office of Recovery for expedited review. And we estimate and have asked them to complete their review within the 15 calendar days, similar to the emergency permitting process allows. If you have any questions, we are requesting that you email all your questions to the Office of Recovery email I've shown here, and include in that email your property owner contact information, meaning your name and phone number, the tax map key parcel numbers for the property inside the burn area and outside the burn area, so we can better assist you. Next slide. As you recall, I did mention that the one of the criteria for the property outside is how that you need a building permit number. So I'm going to go over very briefly these points. One, all the permits, building permits, are submitted to the Maui Automated Planning and Permitting System, and you're going to hear that term MAPS. So I have provided links to instructions to go ahead and initiate submittal of a building permit to MAPS. And if you're having any issues understanding or having issues with the website or uploading or anything, you will, for this purpose of submitting, you will contact the Development Services Administration Building Permit section at the number or email that I have provided. Next slide. Thank you. One more thing, if you have questions other than submittal of the building permit, you would contact the Office of Recovery at the email I did provide in the other slide. Thank you. Thanks, Steph.
Thank you, Wendy. Next, we have Shana Gawa, Director of Department of Environmental Management, to discuss sewer connection for Fleming Road residents.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Stephanie. First of all, I'd like to apologize for the mask. I've been feeling under the weather, so I'll do my best to speak up so you guys can understand me. Next slide, please. So tonight, I'm just going to present and give you some information for those of you who live on Fleming Road regarding the new sewer line that's coming down the street. So USA's Army Corps, they began the construction of the sewer line in Fleming Road and along Malo Road. That's along the railroad tracks going to our pump station number 3 by Waikuli Terrace Park. This is for the Kilohana temporary housing site. We made a request to have the sewer laterals built to the county standards, which is 2 feet within your property. But because of legal matters, they could only install the sewer laterals within the right-of-way, within 2 feet of your property line. So they're going to construct the laterals on the road side of your property line, fronting your lot within 2 feet. Next slide. So what do you do as a homeowner? You would be required to obtain the building permits or the permits from DSA in order to connect to this sewer lateral that the Army Corps is going to be putting in. You need to have your plumbing contractor relocate your clean out to be on your side of the property line within 2 feet. And if the relocation of the clean out is not feasible, then we advise you to contact our wastewater reclamation division at the number shown here to get approval for the final location of the clean out. And I'll show you examples of what the clean outs are later in this presentation. And then third, if you have a septic system or cesspool, you need to abandon your septic system or cesspool to the satisfaction of Hawaii Department of Health. Next slide. So I just want to give you some information of where these are in the county code. So county code 14.25A.130, this pertains to wastewater laterals and cleanouts. So item A, whenever there exists a lateral fronting your lot, or if you have an inadequately sized service connection, you need to apply for the installation of a new service connection. So what does that mean? It means that you need to go into the map system that Wendy previously mentioned, and there is a portion in the map system specifically for wastewater. So when you do that tie-in, you're ready to do that tie-in, go into the maps and then fill out the information for the wastewater tie-in portion. Item B, upon approval by the director, which is myself, the applicant shall be responsible for the installation and its costs. So the installation will be subject to inspection by the department. The actual connection to the lateral or main shall be performed in the presence of a county inspector. So what this says is that when you get your plumbing from your home and you're ready to tie into this clean out, you need to, one, do that on your own with your contractor, and then it'll be at your cost. And at the time of the tie-in, the actual physical tie-in to the sewer lateral, you need to have and call our wastewater reclamation division to schedule a county inspector to inspect that last tie-in, the physical tie-in to the lateral. Item C, if an existing service connection does not include a clean out, the property owner is required to have one installed just inside of the property line to county standards at the property owner's expense. This happens within 30 days after the written notice has been served on the property owner by the department. Next slide, please. So this is Maui County Code 14.21A.010. This is basically the required connection for wastewater laterals. So item A, the owners of all dwelling buildings or properties that are used for human occupancy, employment, recreation, or other purposes, and that abut on any street, alley, right of way in which there is now located or maybe in the future located a public wastewater system, so Fleming Road, are required at their expense to establish a direct connection with a proper wastewater system in accordance with the provision of this article within 180 days after date of official notice. So what this says is you will get a notice from our wastewater reclamation division stating that this is your notification to connect to the sewer line in Fleming Road. And from that notification from wastewater reclamation division, you need to tie in within 180 days. Item B, the director shall grant an extension of the foregoing connection requirement to owners of single-family dwellings existing at the time of installation of the public wastewater system. And when the estimated connection charge for the owner is found by the director to exceed the prevailing estimates for connection of single-family dwellings to the same public wastewater system line by 50% or more, to attain To obtain an extension, owners must file objections to the connection requirement set forth in subsection A of this section before the expiration of the aforesaid 180 days. Extensions granted pursuant to this subsection shall be for a period not to exceed 5 years. So what this is saying is that on a case-by-case basis, and again, this is for residents on Fleming Road, you know, say you have existing septic system and you feel that, you know, 180 days is not enough, you can, on a case-by-case system, file a request to our department. You can either address it to our wastewater reclamation division or to the director's office here with an explanation of why you are requesting an extension. So meaning you can go beyond the 180 days to connect if that request is approved. And that extension can be up to 5 years. Next slide, please. Item C, if a building cannot be practically served due to rock, wastewater collection system depth, or other construction problems, the owner shall install, operate, and maintain a residential pumping station. So what this means is that if your lot is situated, say elevation-wise, where you cannot directly gravity flow to the main in the roadway, the sewer main in the roadway, then by this Maui County Code, you need to install and operate and maintain a residential pump to pump it up to the clean out and then gravity flow to the sewer main in the roadway. Item D, where public or private wastewater systems are not available or accessible, a septic tank or other acceptable wastewater treatment system may be constructed as authorized by the State Department of Health, provided the use of a septic tank meets all applicable governmental agreements. So this basically states that you still have the option to construct a septic system, but it needs to meet all the requirements of the State Department of Health. So just a reminder, cesspools and septic systems are regulated from the State Department of Health and not the county. Next slide, please. Item E, for single-family dwellings where the wastewater lateral elevation of the unit is below the wastewater line, the owner shall be required to connect to the public wastewater system and install a pump in the following circumstances: when the property is sold or further developed, when the living area in a single-family dwelling is increased, or when the cesspool or septic tank fails to function properly according to the standards contained within this article. So this kind of ties into the other item where you may need to put in a pump to pump the sewer up to the clean out in order to gravity flow to the sewer main. And these are the criteria when that would be required. Next slide, please. So this is basically an overview or site plan of the sewer line that's going down Fleming. You can see that in the dashed yellow line. And then it runs along Malo Street, along the train tracks to our pump station number 3 at near Wahikuli Terrace Park. The lots that you see with the blue hatching, those are all the lots along Fleming that will be required to tie into the sewer line once that is constructed. Next slide, please. This first detail, this is what the Army Corps is going to construct. So if you can imagine, this is a sewer lateral. This ties into the sewer main running down Fleming Road. The lateral goes horizontally, and then the clean out is that vertical portion that looks like a chimney. That's called the clean out. That is going to be constructed by the Army Corps when this sewer line goes in Fleming. And that clean out will be approximately 2 feet from your property line on the roadside. What the use of the clean out is to inspect and to maintain any type of clogs within the lateral between the clean out and the sewer main. So this is right here going to be what is going to be constructed by the Army Corps. 2 feet on the roadside of your property line. Next slide, please. This detail, excuse me, because this is actually a mirror image of the other one. Now the roadway is on the right side, but if you can imagine the same thing, right here, what you see is what the owner is going to be required to do. So the dotted clean out is what the Army Corps will install. That is the one that's going to be about 2 feet on the roadway side. And then when you come in to tie in, you are going to be required to have your contractor, your plumbing contractor, construct the same type of clean out, but that clean out is going to be 2 feet on your property side of your property line. So basically is moving the clean out or constructing a new clean out about 4 feet away from the clean out that's in the roadway. And then from there, that ties into the plumbing to your house. And again, the reason for the clean out is so that our county crews can go out and maintain, inspect that lateral to the main in the street in case there's any type of blockage and whatnot. Next slide, please. This detail basically is the same thing, showing the cleanout that you are going to be required to construct 2 feet into your side of the property. Now, however, if there is a big difference in elevation from the plumbing of your house to the elevation of the lateral in the roadway side, you have this option to tie in at a higher elevation. So this allows you to not have to trench as deep. So we do accept this as it's called an advanced riser connection. So the dotted line there is the line that goes to your home plumbing. You can tie at a higher elevation with the use of that Y that connects to the clean out or the chimney portion. And this will allow you to tie at a higher elevation or a lower depth. So you don't have to trench all the way down to the bottom of the clean out. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you very much. And if you folks have any questions, feel free to call our wastewater reclamation division, 270-7417, or you can call our office here at the director's office, 270-8230. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. And next we have Brandy Kajidoy from the Long-Term Recovery Group.
Hi, aloha guys. Thank you. Super excited about being here. So I have a couple of different presentations I'm going to show you. The first one is just kind of to let you know who we are and what we're about and what we're here to do to help the homeowners. So we are Ho'olaia Maui Kama, the Disaster Long-Term Recovery Group, and we're here to restore our community and rebuilding our future in Lahaina and Kula. Next slide. Our mission is to address the spiritual, emotional, physical needs of our individuals and families affected by the Maui wildfires. Our mission is to provide comprehensive and compassionate support to the community of Maui in the aftermath of our disasters. And our vision is to see a thriving, resilient community where every individual has resources, support, and opportunities to recover from disasters and build a stronger future. Next. So we're made up of a lot of different people from our community, and our executive team is made up of Kaipo, Kekona, he's our chair. We have Rhonda Alexander Motriz, she's our vice chair. We have Nestor, which is our guy, our at-large from West Maui. We have Keone, our at-large from Upcountry, and that's our executive team. And they meet a couple of times a month. And then we have our committees of chairs, and we just had a good meeting today. So we have Thelma, and she's our communications chair. She's actually with Catholic Charities. And then there's me, Brandy, I'm the construction chair and I actually own a construction company, so Kajidoy Construction. And Annie, she is our volunteer chair, and she's actually with Pacific Disaster Center. And we have Nicole, she's our social emotional chair with Aloha House. We have G, she's our case management chair with Maui United Way. We also have Sky with donations chair. She's actually with CNHA, so we work with all these different people too. Stephen is our resources roundtable. You guys may have heard about the resources roundtable so far, and he's actually with Salvation Army. So if you're not noticing a lot, we're all volunteers. and we all have full-time jobs with all these other places, but we're all partnering up. So a couple of we have a few board members. We have Veronica with Roots Reborn, and we have Andrea, which she's the Hawaii State VOAD. And then we have Jennifer, which is the Keala Foundation. And then we have Kukui, she is also with our CNHA. So as we were building this board and this team, we started seeing some pukas, and so we started reaching out to where we needed some more help in these different areas. So we have Matt, he's another one from our Hawaii State VOAD, and then we have David, and he's with our Legal Aid Hawaii, because legal aid had come up a few times. And then we also have guidance with Kamehameha Schools, Kale, and then Keala is the Office of Resiliency and Wellness. And then we also have Matt from our Habitat for Humanity, and then Serena from our Community and Maui Behavioral Health. And we have Tony with St. Anthony Church. These are our faith organizations that we brought in. And then Yayo from our Lahaina Jodo mission. So this is kind of a visual of how we are and who we are and what we do. We do have like a centerpiece where you'll come to and come to ask your questions and come and get resources. But this is what we're made of so far and where we're going to help our community. Next slide. Our executive committee has been working on our 501c3, which has just been filed, and I think we already have our federal tax ID number. And we have MUW is currently our Maui United Way is currently our financial supporter. In a couple of different ways, they secured an initial operation fund of $250,000 so that we could hire our executive director and our case facilitator positions. Our future plans is we have our website, which I'll share with you guys today. It's up and running as of a few hours ago. An awareness campaign. We're going to fund our construction manager and our donations coordinator and a bookkeeper. And so then Resources Roundtable, which is the one many of you may have heard already, and if you haven't, they're the ones that are actually accepting some of our cases at the moment. As of July 2nd, the table is available to hear cases. It's made up of organizations that have money or manpower and materials. They're going to hear the unmet needs of individual cases, but these cases are brought forward by your disaster case manager. And just remember, this is your last resort for help to close a case and help residents get back in the pre-disaster status. Our volunteer committee has partnered with our county. As you've noted, if you didn't notice during some of the time, we had the different things that happened during the 1 year. You use the Point app, offering a free volunteer system for nonprofits. We're also seeking funders to support a $1,200 1-year paid membership with Volunteer app. We help recruit the nonprofits to sign up so that we get those volunteers and manpower. And we'll coordinate a larger national VOAD organizations that offer volunteers to help with the rebuild. There's at least 2 or 3 that I know off the top of my head that are willing and able and ready to go to help us rebuild. We just need to give them the green light. Next slide. So then construction committee, which is me, I've been focusing on providing rebuild navigation support services. Priority 1 are about 891 owner-occupied parcels. Our priority 2 are the 120 long-term rental parcels. And then those unmet needs assessing data will come through the CNHA or the HERO and the DCMPs, which is the disaster case management. So that's my focus, and I'll show you a little bit more in detail a little bit later. Next slide. Our case management committee, they've launched resources around the application with the DCMPs. The future work is going to include creating a pathway for those non-disaster case management groups to bring in unmet needs to the roundtable, and then creating a ways to assess immediate unmet needs. Our social and emotional care committee created networking, providing mapping via UH Maui's Hulihia office. The future work will include supporting a 1-year memorial event, which this has already kind of happened with some of them, responding to referrals and mental health and special needs. So our donations committee, we actually partnered up with CNHA and their donation center. We just had some discussions about that today, so we're gonna actually start expanding some things. Again, they're waiting for a few things to happen so that we have a big green light for materials to come in. But their future work is to support the construction committee with soliciting the national companies to support and reduce rebuild expenses. And then we're also going to create and implement donation tracking and distribution systems. Next slide. So this is my expertise. This is why I'm here tonight. What I did was, as a contractor, a lot of the times people come to us and they have a budget, they know what they're doing, they know where they're going, they have plans, they have it all mapped out, and that's obviously not the case, and I know I'm preaching to the choir for you guys. So what I did was talking to a lot of friends and family, going through this process, I started writing all this checklist down because I'm such a checklist person. So we ended up creating this A to Z rebuild checklist, and then we also kind of started creating a rebuild navigator toolkit for some of you. Next slide. So we're going to provide assistance from available funds, labor and services, and/or materials to eligible individuals and families directly impacted by the Maui wildfires. The committee is going to assist clients in the recovery by overseeing the repair or the rebuild of a client's home to a safe and sanitary, secure, and functional condition with the guidelines and the exceptions expectations of the LTRG group and the state and county codes. Next slide. This is just kind of like a little condensed pathway of how you would get to your construction management committee. Right now, a lot of us are just going through the resources roundtable because they're able to hear cases. Once things come up during that case, listening to that case, they're sending it to me to see who needs help. Once you get to me, then we'll start helping you go through the checklist, see where you're at, see what else you need to get done. If you need a lot of work done, then I'll help you get those volunteers and the materials. And then obviously our goal is to get your project to begin building. Next slide. So the majority of the lots are cleared now, so everybody is ready for this rebuild, and that's where we wanted to offer these two checklists. Go ahead, next slide. So every day this checklist does kind of change, and because every day we're getting more and more resources. This one, it looks like this maybe about 2 weeks ago. Today it looks a little bit different. But once I give you the website, you'll be able to see. But basically, we wanted to be able to provide resources to property owners, even contractors, architects, case managers, and others that were going to be engaged in your rebuild. And so we wanted to serve and guide through the construction process and the available resources for the survivors and recommendations based on those best practices. Next slide. So there's going to be a couple of different ways that you'll be able to find this checklist. On our website, you're going to be able to see a download, which I recommend going to the download right now just because I'm able to add things to it a little bit more quickly. And in the download, you'll be able to see at A, B, C, D, and it goes all the way down to Z. And then there's a couple extra things. You can also access this through your disaster case management. We've met with them a few weeks ago to get this to them so they're aware of it and they know where it's going to be. And then individuals also may be able to seek out a rebuild navigator. Right now we have partnered up with CNHA and they are doing a great job already with guiding you guys into what to do next. And also the HCL, which is the Hawaii Community Lending, they're doing a great job in navigating you guys into what to do next too. So we partnered up with them, and then the other person is just me at the moment to help you guys get to where you need to be. Like I said, our checklist actually launched today. So if you go to our website, it's going to be MauiLongTermRecovery.org, MauiLongTermRecovery.org, all one word, is where you're going to find that. Next slide. So this right here, we started building if people just needed a little bit more help with understanding what do I do next. We created these navigating toolkit for people to help And we've trained a lot of people to go through these toolkit and basically just asking the question of, have you gotten your plans? Okay, no. Okay, have you worked with any organization to get those plans? Maybe yes. And then we can kind of start there and go to see who have you working with and what have they done so far, and then we can get you on to the next step. We're going to launch this a little bit later just because we're going to train a few people to get this done, but just know that there will be somebody to step by step with you if you haven't already gotten to that point. Next slide. So yes, Maui longtermrecovery.org, and you can do the /build and you'll go directly to the build site there. And then if you just kind of cursor down a little bit, not halfway, just a few links down, there's actually a place where it says download the checklist. That's the best one right now. Just go ahead and download that checklist. There's tons of resources. You guys have mentioned earlier, All Hands and Hearts are doing the ineligible things for you guys. They're going to continue to do that. They're just finding more resources to get it done. And then we've even added things in there. Someone wanted the gravel. So if you don't want to actually spend the money on getting that gravel off of your property, there is someone that will come and take it for you. So we've been combining all of these resources. There's a ton of resources out there to help you guys. I understand that the pre-work grant is gone at the moment. We just talked about that today. We're still looking to get that relaunched again in one way or another. In the meantime, there are still free things that you guys can get. There are the free building plans out there, and those architects will help you put that into the permitting process. So there's still a way to get it done at the moment before we go and do, we'll put more resources out there for you guys once they come up. Thank you guys for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandy. A lot of great information there. So everyone can check out that new website,
Yes.
the new tools. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to move on to that quick FAQ section that I was talking about a little bit earlier from the water, concerning water meters. So next slide, please. Again, just want to go over this really quickly. Deputy Director Kimo Landgraf of the Department of Water Supply went over these a couple of weeks ago at a community meeting, and I just want to go over them really quickly again here. So how, if you want to request a new meter be reinstalled, or have your water meter be reinstalled, you can call those numbers 270-7730 or 270-7834 to request your water meter be reinstalled. You can read a little bit more there. Another FAQ was, does the replacement cost anything? And the answer is no. If your water meter was damaged or cut due to contamination, there's no charges for a replacement. Next slide, please. How long? People are always asking how long it's going to take. Once you request, it should take about 2 to 6 weeks. You can call those numbers above the numbers in the previous slide for a weekly update on where you are in the process. And the Department of Water Supply is prioritizing customers that have an approved building permit and are ready to begin construction. So that's that 2 to 6 time frame is kind of what they're prioritizing to get those done within that time frame. Customers who need dust control or irrigation may need to wait a little bit longer. Next slide, please. And then now that the unsafe water advisory was lifted, does the property owner have to do anything to resume their water service? You can call that number. You can call customer service for the Department of Water Supply at 270-7730 to reactivate your account. And there were more FAQs that are posted and a little more information posted on mauirecover.org/water for more information. And again, like I said earlier, Kimo is here tonight to answer any further questions you may have. Next slide. Now we should be going into our Q&A. Let's see. Yeah, and looks like we're good there. We're gonna go to a few pre-submitted questions that were to the planning department. So I know, like I mentioned at the beginning, in case you missed it, Planning department was unable to send a representative to tonight's webinar, so we were able to get them some of those pre-submitted questions that were submitted through the My Recovers website this past week, and get some answers to those. So I'm going to read those off to you until before we kind of get to some of the more live questions. So one of the questions that was asked was, aloha, we live in the Puamana development and we have a combination of SMA related topics. We have shoreline, flood zone, historic, and the north side of the stream in a residential zone. Then we have none of those concerns on the south side of the stream. Plus it is zoned differently as agriculture. We have 8 owner-occupied homes spread over 5 separate buildings on the agricultural side. Our question is, can we split the Puamana development SMA majors into multiple projects? The complications on the north end of the property are not shared by the south end. Can we submit the agriculture side separate from the residential zone of the development? And planning department's answer to that was yes, you may split SMA major submissions into multiple projects. This is also allowed for the agriculture side and the residential side. And then another question to planning was, our property was set back at 20 feet. What will new setbacks be on the ocean on Front Street? What will be the options if setbacks are changed to make my property unbuildable at 40 feet? The planning department's response to that was to please book one of those one-on-one meetings with for shoreline property owners that we discussed earlier at the beginning, near the beginning of this webinar. That link to the shoreline permitting page on My Recovers. You can go ahead there and schedule a meeting with our planning department, and the planners will be able to meet with you individually to assess your property. And another question was, please address full-time residents that reside in the SMA. When will the permitting process be available for SMA areas? And the planning department's response, you may apply for SMA permits via MAPS. So you've heard that term quite a bit today. The MAPS website, the MAPS application website, I'm going to enter it into the chat here. They provided a tiny URL for that. That you can click on to access maps there. And so that should provide an answer for, or at least a way for you to get started. And then one more, there's a couple more for planning, just really quickly. This question says, I'm building a home for relocation, and the only thing that's holding my permit up is the SHPD. Susan Lebo at SHPD has signed the AIS acceptance, but there's no one on Maui who can review it. So she sent it to the Big Island. Is there something that you can do to help me? And the planning department, they needed a little bit more information. So they asked this person who submitted this question to please provide your permit number to the planning department so they can look a little bit more into your question in depth. And I'm going to add this contact info for the planning department. So if you have to contact them, you can contact them at that phone number, 808-270-7735, or you can email the planning department, planning@mauicounty.gov. And I think we had one more that was submitted to planning. I'm gonna have to try to find it in our document here. Okay, it was just a question, again, it's going to refer back to those QR codes at the beginning. They asked, are we allowed to build on Lahaina shoreline? What are the general setbacks and guidelines? And again, like I was saying earlier, we want to refer you back to that shoreline rules update slide that was near the beginning of our webinar that has a QR code that takes you to the new shoreline rules, the county's new shoreline rules. And then you can also sign up for those one-on-one meetings with the planning department from that slide that takes you to the Maui Recovers website. You can also just go to the mauirecovers.org website, and there's a link to sign up for those one-on-one meetings with the planning department. Okay, so I wanted to get a little bit into some of the questions that were asked live. we have here. Oh, one thing I did want to mention, we've been hearing some reports from a few of our people here that they're getting a little bit of comments that from others that they're having trouble logging in. So I want to apologize if you're watching this replay. I want to apologize for that. I'm not really sure what the glitch is that yeah, there's like over 150 people in here. So there were people who were able to log in, and then there are some people that are having trouble logging in. So if you have a friend or a family member who's saying they can't log in, you can reassure them that this is being recorded. The webinar will be posted on MauiRecovers.org on our community meetings page. We have all of our past community meetings and webinars on there. And yeah, so that should be up by tomorrow. We're hoping to get up a video recording of this as well as the slide deck. I know some people were asking about the slide deck. Will it be available? We'll effort to get that up tomorrow along with the recording of this video for you to refer to back later. So one of the questions that was asked today was if we have already downloaded the debris removal closeout package, do we need to do it again with the new process? Very good question. The answer is no. This is for people who have not had their who do not have not obtained their debris removal closeout package yet. So don't worry about it if you've already done so. Going back. Let's see. One thing I also did want to mention, like I said, because the planning department is not here to answer questions live, we won't be addressing those questions tonight, but we are keeping track of all the questions that come in, and we will effort to get them answered by the planning department and posted on the same page that's going to have the video replay as well as the slides. So these questions won't just go into into the void. We're going to get those answers for you. So some of the pre-submitted questions. We had a lot for Shane Agal with concerning Fleming Road because of people saw that he was going to be here and talk about it. So we have a lot of questions with Fleming Road, but there are also some about other areas. So I kind of wanted to go over a couple of those. So this question is for Shane. For the homes on Lahaina Luna Road, particularly the 3 above Kuhua, when will the sewer service be restored? Also, when will it be for all of the homes in the Lahaina Luna area? Sorry. Oh, sorry, Shane. I think you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. Sorry for that. So thank you for the question. For the particular lots in question, the sewer main that services those 4 parcels, Mauka of Kuhua Street, that main has been damaged. So that's going to require repairs and replacement before we can turn those lots from red to green. Right now, I don't have an accurate time frame of when this will happen, but I can share that our in-house crews from wastewater is currently working in the Kuhua camp area. They're working to CCTV the lines that the EPA deferred, with the ones that they couldn't get to because of various reasons like debris blocking the lines. And they're also attempting to perform minor repairs to the damaged sewer lines. Now, for the rest of the lots that are still red in Lahaina, I do have some good news. So the contested bid issue that we had, I don't know if all of you are aware of that, but we did receive bids from contractors to repair all the sewer work and all the damage in Lahaina. We got that in, I believe it was like the 3rd week of June. However, the bids were contested. In a previous presentation, I did say that that would set us back a couple months. We have addressed the issue of the contested bid. So right now, our wastewater division is working with the low bidder, Department of Finance and PERC Council to finalize and execute that contract. The contract procedure is going to take about a month. Once the contract is executed, then we issue the notice to proceed to the contractor, and then they're able to begin the work, the sewer repairs in Lahaina. This contract would take care of all of the sewer repairs that was flagged by the EPA CCTV inspection and the damage assessment that was provided by our consultant. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Shane. Let's see. I think actually we can go to another one for you, Shane. Like I said, a lot of people had a lot of questions. You're a very popular guy tonight. So let's go to, sorry, I have to try to find those now. How are those with, sorry. How are those with unrepairable cesspool damage? Yeah, how are those with unrepairable cesspool damage done by debris removal supposed to get permits for wastewater approved?
Okay. Yeah, so for those, if your cesspool was damaged or septic tank was damaged during the debris removal operations, you would need to work things out with the Army Corps or their contractor who performed that operation. The other option is you would need to construct an individual wastewater system, in other words, a septic tank and leach field, or you would need to wait for guidance for a temporary wastewater holding tank. We provided that guidance to the state DOH for their review and comment. We're still waiting for comment from DOH on that. But keep in mind, the temporary wastewater holding tank, that only pertains to temporary structures. So if this is going to be a permanent structure, your option would be to put in a septic system. Thank you.
Thank you. I see unfortunately we lost Jordan Molina, who had been on here as our panelist. I think he had to go. So I'm going to try to pose a few questions to perhaps Four Leaf may be able to answer. Mike from Four Leaf will be able to answer some of these permitting questions. But if he's not able to, we can see if anyone else on the panel can answer them. If not, again, like I said, we're compiling all these questions and then we'll try to get answers to them in the next few days and get that posted on the website, along with the video recording and the slides. So this was a question about reading the county codes info. I see that I'm in a tropical zone and not allowed to have heating. Why? No fireplace? I'm not sure if you can answer that, Mike.
Yeah, hi, this is Mike. I'm not totally clear on the question. There's an air quality issue there, but the building code does not disallow a fireplace or a gas heating appliance.
Okay. Yeah, that might just be maybe a misinterpretation on the county codes by this. So I would say that they could probably come talk to you at Four Leaf if they have concerns about this.
Absolutely. So real quick, I'm sorry. My mobile number, my personal mobile is 925-785-3581. Again, that's 925-785-3581. So that's on 24/7. Happy to take any questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Let's see, we have a few other questions. This may be something that the long-term recovery group of Brandy would be able to assist with. The question is, Aloha, the state built a resource center focusing on homeless and renters. I don't think you can answer this part. It just says, will the state, but I mean, they're just looking for help. Will the state be doing the same for homeowners? We are short on insurance, short on supplies, and a lot of us don't know if we can rebuild. Are there resources being placed to assist financially with hard resources for rebuild or grants that we can apply for?
Yeah, so long-term recovery, that's what we're about, is meeting those gaps and helping people meet those gaps. You just need to make sure that you have your case manager. If you haven't gotten a case manager, call 211 and get your case manager. It may take a little bit of time, but someone will call you to get you on that list. Once you have your case manager, they're going to help you put together your case and we're going to help you get those resources that you're going to need to fill those gaps that you're missing out on. I understand, we all know it's going to take more than just, $400,000 to rebuild the home that you had. We get that. So yeah, that's what we're here for, and that's what we're going to help everybody do, is to fill those gaps up.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Brandy. Let's see. This is a question for Wendy regarding the permitting outside the burn area. The question is, does expedited permitting outside the burning area only apply to homeowners, not renters?
Hi, Steph. Yes, the expedited permitting outside the burn area is for a homeowner who resided in the burn area to relocate outside the burn area because they own the property. They have the right to construct a dwelling or structure on their property. So a renter who lived in the burn area doesn't have that right to build on the property, as in our permit process, the landowner needs to consent. So we've only at this time provided that allowance to homeowners. Thank you.
So thank you, Wendy. This is a question back to Shane. It's just a question. So is everyone on Fleming Road required to hook up to the sewer line, or is it their choice?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so the answer to that is yes. So everybody is gonna need to require to hook up to the sewer line once it gets constructed. Once you get notified by the wastewater division, you have per county code 180 days to hook up to the county sewer. Now, as I mentioned in the presentation, if you have an existing septic system and it's operable, you would need to submit a request either to wastewater or to our office here, justifying the reason for an extension. And then we would look at your request and make a determination. And that extension could go as long as 5 years before you would need to hook up to the county sewer. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. I see another question that came in asking for what the URL will be for the slides that I keep talking about that are going to be up on the website tomorrow. It's going to be, I can't really give the exact URL because it hasn't been created yet, but it's going to be the link to those slides, to the page that's going to have the slides and the video and everything, is going to be accessed through mauirecovers.org. And then near the top of the page, you'll see a link that says past community events. And if you just go to that page, you'll be able to see the entry for this webinar and it will have everything there. So we're going to aim to try to get that up tomorrow. So keep checking back and you should be able to access the slides by then. Kind of going next. Let me see here to make sure we're not repeating questions too much. This is for Leaf, or possibly I see Jordan's back on. So basically, how much is the charge for completion of a permit that we submit? Is it based on square footage of the design? They kind of give an example. A friend of mine was charged $8,000 for approval for his 2,400 square foot design. They had thought that 4Leaf would help with discounts, which I don't believe is correct. So.
So permit cost is based on valuation of the project, and it would vary greatly between project to project, residential, commercial. Again, if there's specific questions based on the valuation of the permit or what people are going to be charged, I would encourage them to give us a call at the Recovery Permit Center and give an outline of the project. And the one of the permit clerks would be happy to do sort of a dry run and give a valuation of that. Thanks.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. See, kind of going back. This question may be for Jordan. How long from now will the county still do we know how long the county will expedite? Sorry, let me begin the question again. How long from now will the county still expedite permits for rebuilding? Oh.
Hi, Steph.
Hi,
Yeah, that's
there you
gonna that'll be contingent upon the emergency proclamation being in effect. At this point,
go. Okay, all right, thank you. Let's see. This question is for Shane. I think this is more of a general question, not necessarily Fleming Road related, but it says, has the tie-ins to the future county sewage been established yet? I would like to rebuild, but want to do it so that when we are required to tie into sewage, I do not have to dig up concrete.
Okay, thank you for the question. So if this pertains to our existing county sewer system, the lateral locations to your property are already existing. So you would either need to connect to the existing cleanout on your property if it's still there, or you need to have your contractor construct the cleanout and connect to the existing sewer lateral from the sewer main per our standard. So if you recall in my presentation, there was a detail that showed the sewer main with the chimney looking thing. That chimney looking thing is the cleanout. So if yours still exists, then you would just tie into the existing cleanout. If it got damaged, then you would need to have your contractor construct that again. And then you would call our department to inspect the connection and then to approve the connection. Now, if this question pertains to Fleming Road, the sewer lateral locations have been determined, but it was determined by Army Corps and then submitted to our wastewater and approved by them. I don't want to speak for Army Corps, but I assume that there is a possibility to work with them to make minor adjustments to the locations of your sewer lateral. But I would defer to Army Corps to confirm that. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Let's see here. This is actually a question for Everett with Mima. This about the checkpoints. Can we keep checkpoints where they are until streetlights are up and people are there to stop in order to stop theft and destruction?
Hi, Stephanie. Thanks. Thank you for that question. I would have to know where they're talking about without knowing the backstory on it. I wouldn't want to answer specific to that, but what I can say is considerations are made for opening areas. So yeah, I mean, if there's a way if we can get that address, then I can follow up as well to that individual asking that question.
Okay. For the person that asked that question, I believe the name here we have is Junior. Could you, in the question, ask another question that has your address, and maybe we can address it before the end of the webinar? Rob, if you can make sure to try to look out for that if possible. Oh, is it? Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry, I'm looking at the updates we're getting here. It looks like it's South Lahaina. Is it South Lahaina Luna Road? Sorry, we'll get back to it. We're still trying to update the information. But in the meantime, we can kind of go on to the next question. We'll come back to that. So this question is about the debris removal package. I'm going to try to answer this as best I can. What is the debris removal package? Army Corps completed it and the insurance paid for the additional debris removal to our property. So we are all set. We now have to apply to close out our property debris removal package. Is that correct? No. So the Army Corps, once it's completed its work, they will send over their completed paperwork over to the county, and the county will upload it to maps for you to be able to download, and that process usually takes about 5 to 10 days once the Army Corps has closed out, has completed the paperwork. And that closeout package is required for a few different things, but usually like, so say all hands and hearts will need it if you wanted to do ineligible debris removal. You also need it for building permits and such. They're going to require that to be submitted as well. So that's what that's for. And no, you don't have to apply or do anything further except just, again, that have to wait for that 5 to 10 day period after it's been completed. And it should be available to download on the website that we mentioned earlier. So, sorry, going back, Everett, to the question that was asked earlier, South Lahaina, it says between Front Street and Oholo, it's Puapihi Street, if you're familiar with the area.
Okay, I'd have to go and look that up. So if I could get the contact, maybe if you can email me the contact information, and I can get back to the resident regarding that.
Yeah, so what email? We can, if you want to drop, actually, Everett, the email that he can contact you, can you drop it in the chat?
Copy, I definitely will do that right now.
Okay, so Junior can go ahead and email Everett at the email he's going to provide in the chat. And you can go ahead and email him directly. Let's see, try to go over a few more of these questions. Let's see. Oh, this one could be for chemo. They kind of just want an update on water availability. Is water available along Front Street, south of Shaw Street?
Yes, the water is available in that area. In fact, water is available for all of Lahaina.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for the clarification, Kimo. This actually question, this question we discussed. So this was a pre-submitted question, and I kind of discussed with Wendy from management. If wasn't sure if she was able to get the answer to the question, but I'm going to pose it, and if not, we have to kind of kick it back to Hiko. But there was a question pre-submitted that asked about electric poles. So the question is, people are starting to rebuild, but there are no longer electric poles on roads where they used to be. Will Hiko be installing the poles for us to get electricity to our homes, even with a temporary permitted structure? There are no poles currently on my street, Kale, but people are rebuilding and have permits to do so. I believe this is the Kohua camp area.
Hi, Steph. Thanks. Yes, I did reach out to Hiko for them to provide some guidance, as there are no poles on Kale, and there are 3 permits that I am aware of. One's in construction, one submitted pending approval, and one to be submitted. And so we do have a timing concern from the residents that if they were to complete construction, is Miko's timing for the pole replacement going to line up when they complete construction and will have electrical service. So unfortunately, I did reach out before this webinar and haven't yet received a response. So we're going to have to follow up with those property owners individually or at the next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and we discussed with Wendy earlier, we're going to try to get someone from Hiko to participate in our next webinar so we can get more questions answered. You know, people have a lot of questions concerning electricity. Also wanted to note, we did get a few questions or really concerns about the concrete and ash that's piles that are on Komomai Street. I didn't wanted to mention it because I don't want people to think that we're just ignoring the question. Those questions will have to be answered by USACE, the Army Corps. And unfortunately, Lieutenant Colonel Colin Joe was unable to make it tonight. He did send sent his regards. He was he had a conflicting a conflicting appointment. So we will be sending all these concerns and any questions that would be for Army Corps to him, and hope to get those answered. Again, like I was saying, on the page that we're going to have a lot of the answers to for questions that we don't get to tonight. Um, uh, let me get next one. Again, this is for Shane. My home is on Fleming and it's still standing. We're currently on cesspool use. Could we get help with expedited permit resource program for my sewer line connection permit?
Okay, thank you for that question. So I would recommend going into maps, as I mentioned in the presentation. That's the permitting system, the automated permitting system. Look for the wastewater permitting section that pertains to the plumbing permit, I believe. Once it's in maps, our wastewater reclamation division will then review it and then assist you in how to process that. If not, you can call them at 270-7417 on a case-by-case basis, and they can help you walk through that process. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. We did a few of these questions. We're getting through a lot of these. I'm not sure if anyone will be able to answer this question. This one is for Jordan or possibly John. In our street, which is again just Komomai Street, is it going to be repaved? This was a perfect street before the fire, and it's horrible now. Can we get it fixed? And what about street lights? Can we get those working as well? I'm not sure if you can answer that part, but.
Sorry, Steph, what street was it?
Sorry, Komomai. Sorry, did you? Yeah, it was Komomai Street.
We'll be working with water supply to repair the trench patches they put in for the water work. And then we're also currently working with HECO to get those streetlights restored, but no timelines at this point. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jordan. See, this is possibly for Four Leaf or Jordan, possibly. I believe they're referring to permitting. Can the county please explain when special inspections are required? The form on the check has a checkbox saying check here if not required. The architect wants us to sign an agreement before providing us our plans, agreeing to pay $7,000 in special inspection fees.
Mike, you want to chime in on that one?
Sorry, Mike, are you, if you're speaking, you're muted. Maybe we lost Mike. I guess we're going to have to get that answered another time. Again, we're saving all these questions and we'll try to get them answered and posted on the website. Looks like we might have lost him right now. So we'll hold off on that question for now. We'll try to get that answered and put up on the website. Looking through a few of these. For the let's see here. This is back to Shane. For wastewater, my area shows waste is accessible. When during the building process do I apply to get service or hookup? What is the process? How is the connection made?
Thank you. That kind of pertains to my last answer. So you would start the process in going into maps, submit an inquiry to our wastewater reclamation division. And if you need help, you can call the number wastewater. I typed it in the chat and they can assist you and guide you through the process to getting your wastewater hooked up. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. And like, I think we're going to be able to fit in one more quick question. Let's see here. We asked that one already. Sorry, Shane. I think these were a couple questions that were pre-submitted that I know that you said that you would be able to refer people to DOH. I want to read those really quickly out so people know that where they can go to. So the two questions that were asked were, how are the cesspools not reusable, closing up processes, requirements and guidelines? What do those cesspools need to follow as far as filling and covering it up? And does the cost fall on the owners? And then the second question was, or when property hook up to county sewer, what's expected as far as our cesspool disconnection? Is just disconnecting all we need to do, or do we have to fill it up and fill cesspools with approved material?
Okay, thank you for that question. So when it pertains to cesspools or septic systems, the county does not regulate those. So I would recommend contacting the State Department of Health and ask them what the process is once you disconnect and what mitigation measures are going to be required to close down your own cesspool or septic system. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Shane. So we're up against time now. So like I said, I know we didn't get to a lot of questions. We were to get to quite a few, but we still have a lot more that came in, and we're going to try to get those answered and up on the website. Again, all you're going to have to do is go to mauirecovers.org, and you're going to see a link near the top of the page that says view community. I think it's something along the lines of view past community meetings. And then you'll see the most recent community meeting pages for the most recent community meetings, including this webinar. And again, we're going to effort to get that up tomorrow as far as the video recording and the slides. So you can reference see those for reference. And then we're going to try to get answers to some of these questions that were submitted and get those answers up on that same page. Hopefully within the next week we're looking at, just to give our department still a few days to get those answers for you. I want to thank everyone for coming and participating, and including our panelists, our presenters. A lot of good information shared. So again, look for the replay or the slides or the questions if you want more information. And always visit mauirecovers.org for the latest information on the recovery process. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Have a nice, safe night, long weekend ahead of us. So take care, everyone. Bye-bye.